Hey everyone, Rho here. Today we are discussing the rebirth of the Emperor. How, incredibly, it could just be something Guilliman is considering. General spoiler warning to begin, as we will be discussing events from across the Warhammer 40k universe. So you have been warned. But, with that said, let's just jump straight in. Now, without doubt, one of the most popular topics I get asked and messaged about is the possibility of the Emperor being reborn. It's one of, if not the most imagined scenario out there within the fanbase. However, as unlikely as this dream scenario may actually be, unbelievably, it's something that has now become very, very relevant to the possible future narrative. Now, the history of the Emperor's sacrifice upon the Golden Throne is really the most integral thing to, well, the entire Warhammer 40k setting. It's the fundamental aspect of the Imperium, and it gives us everything for the universe as we know it. Barring any major shocks at the end of the upcoming Heresy series, the Emperor, as we know, will be left physically broken by his duel against Horus, and after issuing his final orders to his sons, will be placed upon the Golden Throne, locked for eternity to hold back the tides of chaos and guide the Imperium across the stars with his light. After 10,000 years of constant suffering, his physical body has essentially become nothing more than a corpse. But such is his sacrifice, still he persists to this day. Over the years of the lore, there has been theories on how the Emperor could perhaps one day be reborn. One such theory is that his soul is forming a new entity within the warp, awaiting its moment of rebirth, very much akin to the Eldar god Ennead. Another is that he had children during his lifetime, and that those descendants survive to this day. Sacrificing them to the Emperor somehow would empower him enough to become reborn. However, as the lore has continued to evolve over the years, we have reached a point now where we have more information about the Emperor than ever before. And while we don't have all the answers, we do at least have some. We know now the Emperor is a perpetual, by far the strongest one ever, but a perpetual nonetheless. And for those that don't know, perpetuals are essentially immortal humans who heal from terrible wounds and even upon their death can come back to life. So regardless of any of the theories out there, the Emperor being reborn is in fact a very real possibility, just from the fact that he is a perpetual no less. Now, there are some roadblocks that are still, as far as I'm aware, not being taken out of the picture yet, such as Vulcan's doomsday device that is installed into the Golden Throne, which in the event of the Emperor's death would go off, destroying not only all of Terra, but turn the entire region of space into a new Eye of Terror. The plus side being it would cause such a devastating blow to Chaos that they would never recover from it. So silver linings and all that. However, should the Emperor's rebirth ever become a reality, I'm sure this kind of thing would be covered. Now, alongside this perpetual revelation, we have also had without doubt the most exciting piece of lore development in 40k's entire history for me, with the Emperor's awakening. Now, this isn't the Emperor opening his eyes and walking from the throne, but this is essentially, pardon the pun, a psychic awakening. The Emperor, for the first time since his ascension to the throne, is actively working and acting against chaos on the galactic plane. And this is something we've spoken about on the channel before. The reason for this awakening appears to be twofold. Firstly, Abaddon's destruction of Cadia and unleashing of the Warp appears to have greatly frayed the boundaries between the Warp and the physical realm, not only greatly enhancing the emergence of psychic power, but also possibly making it easier for the Emperor to act within the Imperium himself. Secondly, 10,000 years of religious worship and faith being poured directly into the Emperor appears to have ascended him to the godhood he always fought against. The Emperor, quite possibly, is more powerful now than he ever was before. So it's these two occurrences that bring us to our situation today. With the return of Guilliman to the Imperium, the Emperor spoke for the first time since his internment upon the throne. And when Guilliman launched his Indomitus crusade to fight back across the galaxy, the Emperor has been said to have been calming the Warp before its path, allowing Guilliman to make particularly good speed across the galaxy. And not only that, we have seen the appearances of so-called saints appearing on battlefields at ever-increasing number, beacons blazing with the golden light of the Emperor across countless war zones. The most undeniable event transpiring at the end of the Plague Wars campaign involving Guilliman himself. And spoiler warning for anyone who has not read Dark Imperium Godblight, and seriously, if you haven't, then go read the Dark Imperium trilogy entire. You will not regret it. But assuming you have, we saw the Emperor not only heal Guilliman from the brink of death, but seemingly possess his son and use his power to burn the Garden of Nurgle. And it's really that moment that has forced Guilliman to consider something that he most likely has never dreamed of. Not only the Emperor becoming a god, but also if he can be reborn, if he can come back to life. And this isn't just speculation here, as we saw Guilliman ask those very questions to Belisarius Caul's Call Inferior, his artificial machine designed to give his exact responses, where Guilliman openly admitted for the first time that he can't deny the evidence that the Emperor is acting again across the Imperium, and he asks the Call Inferior not only does he think the Emperor is a god, but if he thinks he can be returned to life. As unbelievable as it is to be living in this time of the lore, where we actually get to discuss these things, the truth is, we really have to consider that Guilliman's motives may not be quite so straightforward. Guilliman is a child of the Great Crusade. He is absolutely aghast at what's become of the Imperium, how faith and worship of his father has overcome the entire Imperium, one that was originally intended to be free of such things. And honestly, Guilliman is quite simply aghast at what's become of his father. Faced with the prospect of his father having become a god, and acting in ways and methods he cannot truly comprehend, the truth is, Guilliman may not want to revive his father to simply bring him back to life, but maybe more so to remove him from this element of godhood. Guilliman has made no attempt to hide his disdain for the worship of his father, his utter contempt for the ecclesiarchy. Having his father acting in ways he cannot comprehend, is it possible Guilliman may seek to return the Emperor to life, rather than simply to walk side by side with him once more, but to try and bring back the man that was, rather than the god that is? Honestly, I think that is a distinct possibility, and with Guilliman having ordered Caul to return to him for a meeting, which isn't up for discussion, meaning that Guilliman really has something important to discuss with Cool. I'm really beginning to think, maybe, just maybe, Guilliman's going to raise the prospect with Cool of working on bringing the Emperor back to life. Much like Cool created the Armour of Fate for Guilliman, for him now to work on something similar for the Emperor of Mankind himself. Obviously, we know in the long run it won't work out or even get to that ultimate point. I mean, the Emperor upon the Golden Throne is the entire basis for 40k. Surely we won't ever see the day where he will leave the Golden Throne. But I really do feel that this storyline in Guilliman's thinking is going to evolve, and we could well see, unbelievably, a development of the Emperor being reborn storyline. The real interesting aspect of it though is Guilliman's motives in this development. He's not necessarily acting in the best interests for his father, but rather being guided by his own misgivings. A fear of just what the Emperor has become, and just where his actions might take the Imperium. It's a really interesting plot point to consider. Just how would something like that go down with the Ecclesiarchy? How would the High Lords react if they found out about Guilliman's intentions? Or heck, even his fellow brothers should they return? Obviously it's something we'll just have to wait and see, and something that's going to figure quite heavily in the narrative moving forward. I mean, let's be honest here, maybe the newly awoken God Emperor may not want to be reborn at all. How much of the man still survives within this fractured spirit? How much of the Emperor's newly adopted grand plan may involve him needing to be within the Immaterium? Maybe now, for the first time ever, he has the power to fight the Chaos Gods face to face. I mean, really, there's no doubt about it. For the first time ever, we have seen him using his powers directly against one of the ruinous powers. If Guilliman was to bring him back to the land of the living, well, he may not be able to do so. One thing is for sure, things are more interesting now than they have ever been. And I am waiting on absolute tenterhooks to see just where Guilliman instructs Cool to look into next. But as always guys, what do you think? Why do you think Guilliman is debating bringing his father back to life? Is it motivated from fear of just what the Emperor has become? Or is there still good intentions at the heart of Guilliman's motives? And where do you think this storyline is going to go? Will Guilliman instruct Cool to look into this matter? Or is it still something that Guilliman is keeping to himself? Why else would he bring these questions up to the Cool inferior? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.